Hello everyone, welcome to Limatech once again. I have brought another video of Flutter series. In this video I am going to demonstrate how to use drop-down button widget properly in our Flutter. So let's jump to VS Code to start implementing the drop-down widget. This is the demo app that I have already created to save some time. I have already ran this on my emulator, as you can see. Let me just walk you through what I have already done. This is my main.dart file, and I have already deleted the default generated code by the Flutter framework. In home attribute or in home properties, I have hooked dropdown example page or another stateful widget class. I have created this stateful widget class, and inside this stateful widget class, which is nothing but dropdown example, I have kept only the app bar. Apart from this app bar, there is nothing. As you can see, dropdown button widget is an app bar title. Here you can see, right? Now we are going to implement the dropdown button widget. Dropdown button widget can be used in two ways. One, by receiving the data in the form of list of string type. List of string type will have only the number of records, and we will pass that to our dropdown button widget, and we will show in our dropdown values. And the second way is that list of object type. List of object type means, suppose you have a class called employee. Employee can have employee ID, salary, age, and number of years. If you have one employee of that class, and in a company you have 500 employees, so definitely the list is going to be list of employee. If you are receiving that kind of data, list of any kind of object, how you can pass that list of object to your dropdown button so that you can iterate and show in the dropdown values, and what extra you can showcase in that way, and what less we can achieve through the list of string type. So first let's implement the first way, then we will see the second way, how to use the list of object type. For implementing, I am going to create a body, and there is a property called body inside the scaffold. I am going to create a container. Inside the container I will use child, and inside the child I will have another column widget. Why I am taking column widget? Because I want to show the dropdown one by one, or above the dropdown I can keep another widget, or below that dropdown I can have another widget, but that we will consider later one. So the column widget will have another properties called children. I just entered the children, and here I am going to create one children, that is text. Text means I will show some label to demonstrate that this is this kind of drop-down list. Here I am going to say countries name, country names, simply country names. And if I just format the code, it looks like this one. If I just give comma to the end of every widget, then we can format the code easily. And here we have the country names. Let me just add const to the text widget so that it should not rebuild once again if the build method is called. Below to this country names, I will have the dropdown button widget. Dropdown button widget. Before that, let's save and see the output. Now you can see there is a country names, but the country names is on the top left corner of the app. I want this app to be center aligned. It must be aligned through vertically and horizontally. For vertically aligned, we have a property inside the column, and that is main axis alignment dot center. If I add this property to this column widget, we will get all the widgets in a center. And if I want to make this horizontal alignment, then what I will do, I will wrap this column widget with the center widget. If I save it, it will be aligned in center. Now create dropdown button widget. Before that, let me just add some style to this text style, because I'll just add some style to it, like font size or a color. Font size will be 30 and color will be colors.red. Now I'm saving it, country names is there, and let me just keep it as bold. Font weight I have added as bold. Now let's create a drop down button widget. For creating drop down button widget, Flutter provides a drop down button widget name is itself. So drop down button widget is there, drop down button is there. If you just select the drop down button widget from the list, it will add one line, and in this line you can see there is two error. One is unchanged and another is items. If we hover on this drop down button, we can see so many suggestions or the properties or attributes that this drop down button accepts. Among those, two are required. One is items and another is unchanged. Whenever a class has some properties that are required, those will be by default added and it will show you error, because it accepts items of list of drop down menu item type, and we have not provided anything in our drop down button. Similarly, unchanged accepts a function of dynamic type, and we also haven't provided anything in this line. Let's provide one by one and see the output after saving. I'm going to just do a control space in this unchanged property, and you get two options. Among those, I'll select the second one. This unchanged method will be used to set value in a properties or variables which we are going to use sooner. Now the next step is that we have to use items, and item is a list type of drop down menu item, so we can assign the drop down menu item in this way. First is the drop down menu item is there. It is a class and it accepts a child type, and child can be anything. So child can be any kind of widget. So I am going to give a text as of now, and I am going to save India for this time, and let's save and see what's happening. You can see India is there with a drop down one. If I copy and paste this drop down menu item and change the value to different, like Pakistan or something else, let's see what happens. Now if I select the drop down, we can see two values, one is India and another is Pakistan. But if I take you to my console, you can see there is a error. It says each child must be laid out exactly once. What happens whenever you try to return or try to add multiple drop down menu item widget, and inside the items it gets confused which one to first rebuild, because the value is changing dynamically but the drop down menu item class is same. For that purpose, it says I am unable to render this to this items list. You give me a list of such a type where drop down menu item class will be called or will be created only once. If we pass a drop down menu item in such a way that it should not create multiple class reference of drop down menu item, then it will render the output improperly. To achieve that, what we are going to do, we will take a list of string type, and that will be countries list, and I am going to create a list, and inside this list I am going to have multiple country names: Pakistan, Nepal and Sri Lanka. As of now, let's take only 4 countries, and I am going to pass these countries to our drop down button widget. And how you can pass, this is the main point that you all need to remember, or you all need to keep an eye. You have to pass this list to this items property and first convert this to a map type. Why map type? Map type will give us a value, and that value, from that value we can return a drop down menu item widget, and that drop down menu item widget class will be created only once, and the dynamic value will be passed to that class widget reference. For that, let me convert it to map. Here you can see E is there. E is nothing but it will hold the data like India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka and Nepal. That value will pass to the drop down menu item widget, which I am going to create in the place of null. This arrow symbol means it will return some value from the null position. Now I am going to convert it to the curly braces format, and from here we can return the drop down menu item widget. Here in this child position I will have to pass this one. I have converted this list to map type and I am returning a drop down menu item, but still getting error, because if I hover down on these items, it says it needs a list of drop down menu item type. What we have done, we have just converted these countries to map, but again we have to convert this map to list type. If I add the to list to the end of this map, what it will do, it will return the list of drop down menu item. It is a way of iterating your list, converting to map and again converting back to the list of particular widget type. Wherever you want this kind of list inside a square bracket or inside a list, like we have a list view, list style will be there, row widget. If you are going to show, or if you are going to add number of widgets dynamically, you don't know how many items you need to keep inside a row or column, in that case you can use this kind of conversion. This will help you to display all your widgets without having the error called each child must be laid out exactly once. Now if I save it, it should display. Let me save this one. Here you can see again we are getting the error. The error we are getting because here inside this drop down widget there is a property called value. Why this value property is available and why do we need to give it by default? The reason is that suppose you are receiving the list of string type, in future you can receive the list of object type. So the object can have multiple properties, like employee can have name, salary, age or number of years of experience. Out of those properties, which one you are going to show to the drop down? In that particular case, this value property inside drop down menu item will be helpful. I am going to show that example in the second case. As of now, I am going to add E as the value. Similarly, in this drop down button case, we also have another value, and this value holds the selected value. Selected value means whatever user will change out of this two value or out of those four values or out of those list value, that value will be displayed here, and this value will have some kind of default value, like we have four values in this country's list, and the drop down must be selected with one of this value by default, else we will get error. These things are tricky in drop down widget, but if you can handle it properly, then your app will work smoothly without any error. So for having a default value, what I can do is I can create a widget or I can create a variable called selected country, and I will assign some value to this one. How I am going to assign it? Through a method called init state. Init state method is a overridden method given by Flutter. This method is available inside the stateful widget. whenever we extend a class to this stateful widget, then that method will be available. If you are aware of inheritance concept, then it will be easy for you. So I am going to override this initState method, and this initState method I am going to assign some value to the selected country, and that value will be one of the values of this countries list. For now I am going to assign the first value of the countries, that is India. I am just writing the comment first values of the countries list. You can assign any value. So right now our selected country value will have India. Let's copy this one and assign this to our value property of the drop down button widget. Clearly observe, I am not assigning that value to this drop down menu item. I am assigning that variable to drop down button, which has a property called value itself. So if I save this one, now we should get all the value. You can see we have got India, Pakistan, Nepal, Sri Lanka and the remaining countries names. If I select any of those values, then the selected value should be displayed in this drop down section, just left to the drop down icon, but it's not working, right? The problem is that we haven't done any operations on the change function. Inside this onChange function, what we need to do, we need to call a setState method, which is again provided by our stateful widget. Inside this setState method, we will need to reassign the selected country with the selected value. That is nothing but this value. This value we are going to assign to the selected country, and this selected country again in turn will reassign to this drop down value, which is actually visible to user. Let me save it and see the output. Now I saved it. Again I am going to change it to Nepal. Now the Nepal is selected. If I switch to Sri Lanka, the Sri Lanka is also selected, and Pakistan also got selected. Now it's time to decorate somewhat to this drop down button. You can see there is a underline in drop down button widget. How we can avoid that one? We will wrap this drop down button widget with another widget called hide underline drop down button widget. Let me show you how you can do that. Wrap this widget with the shortcut Ctrl dot and type drop down button widget, and here you can see drop down button hide underline widget. This will actually hide your drop down underline from there, and let's give some space or decoration to it. And to do that, I'll wrap this widget again with container, and with the help of container I'm going to decorate this one. Means I'm going to give some border and radius so that it should look proper. I'm going to give the border radius circular 15, and border will have, like, there is a class called border, and with the help of that class you can call a method called all. All means it will apply to the all side of this border, and I'm going to give a width of 1, and if you want you can give the color to this border, and for this tutorial I'm going to give it as blue color because the bar is also in blue color. You can see the border color is changed and we got some border to our drop down button widget. Now let's give some padding to this one so that the value inside this container should fit, means it should have some space before, after, top and bottom. Now it looks quite fine. Let's give some width so that it should expand to horizontal way. To do that, I'm just going to give some space with the help of media query. I'm going to explain this media query in upcoming series. Width with 0.9 or 8. let's keep it 0.6 so that it should be aligned with the country names. Now it is somewhat good. Now let's give some height between these country names and the drop down button widget. To do that, we have a sized box widget which will accept a height, and I'm going to give height of 15. Let's save it, and we should get some space between these two widgets. That's fine. So this is the way we can implement the drop down button widget having the list of string type. Here we are just displaying the names, nothing else. This way you can just have the drop down value with a single type, like list of string type. The second process is that how you can show or display the value if you have a list of object type. To do that, what I am going to achieve that, what I am going to do, I am going to create a class called employee or country. I am going to create a class called country, and this class will have string country name and string country code, string population count, and another is that it will have, as of now let's have 3 properties. Now create a constructor for this class. This dot name, this dot code, this dot population count. Now we created a class called country, and it has 3 properties: name, code, population count. We are going to create a list of country class type, and we are going to display it to the drop down button widget, or we are going to pass that values to drop down button widget to display those data. Let's come to this drop down example class and create a list of country type, list of countries with codes, and I am going to create countries with the constructor. Now I am going to create one object of country so that we can have multiple names or multiple objects inside this list. To do that, let's create one class or call this constructor, and first one I'll pass India, and the code is IN, population is just 2000. Similarly, I'll copy and paste 2 times or 3 times, and I'm going to do this for Pakistan, and this will be code Pak, and here 200 people stay there. Nepal, for an example, Nepal has the code NEP, they have 60,000 people. And Sri Lanka has the country code SL, and they have only 1000 people or 100 people. Now we created a list of countries with the country code and population count. How we can use this list to showcase how we can use this list in our drop down. To do that, let's copy this drop down button widget and create another drop down button widget. I am going to create or paste that below to this drop down button widget. I am going to have this one. I am just going to give a space between them. Sized box height will be 15, I'm just writing some comment. This drop down button widget will accept the list of country type. Now what we need to do in this case, countries, instead of countries will pass countries with codes. After passing this value we will get so many errors, like here it says a value of type object cannot be assigned to the variable of type string, because the value which we are accepting or getting from this onChange method, because the value which we are receiving through this onChange function is of object type. Which kind of object? This one we can mention that in our drop down button widget. Here we have to specify that this drop down button widget will have value of particular type. That particular type is nothing but our country type. You have to pass here as well country, and here you can see there is an error. Here I am going to write country name, and this value will not work because this selected country is of type string, but we need an object or a variable which will be a type of country. So let's create a variable which will be selected country with code, selected country with code. Similar way we will assign the first value to this country object, selected country code with this one, and I am going to assign the first value to this selected country with code. Now we got the default selected country with code. Let's come back to this second drop down button and assign here that value. Similarly here also we have to assign that one. This value property of drop down menu item and drop down button widget accepts the type of value we are passing, like country type value we are passing. So in both the places we have to replace this one. Let's save it and see whether it's working fine or not. Now if I reload this one, what will happen? Let's see. You can see in both the drop down button our selected value or default value is India. Here also India, there also India. It means no difference is there, right? You will say there is no difference in both the drop down. What advantages we are getting with the help of country list? The advantages is that here you saw India, right? I am going to add some extra value so that you can see the difference. In this section, in this title, in this section, in this child text widget, we are only displaying the name. What if I need any other information along with this name? To do that or to demonstrate you what I am going to do, I am going to use this with this operator, open and curly braces, which is following the dollar symbol. Here I am going to give comma and similarly repeat this symbol and type e dot I code. Now if I save, you can see the difference what it is. You can see in this list of type we don't have country values, but in the list of country type we have country code and the population also. So in drop down you can showcase to your user that this country has this country code, and if you have any image like country image, like we have a flag, you can showcase that also in this text widget. Instead of text widget you can take a row widget and display one by one there. I am going to add another thing. Country code we have added, we are also going to population here. Population colon e dot population count. sorry, let me save here and let's see the output here. Here you see a error, yellow color error, right? Because this error is coming because of the width constraints. I am going to increase this button widget width to 0.8 so that we can have a larger width section to feed that value into our drop down button widget. Here you got the values like Nepal NEP population 6,000 or 60,000, whatever the value you want to show, you can showcase. If you select it, you can get the value through this selected country with code. Let me just demonstrate that one. I can print those value with the help of another widget. Let's take a text widget, and inside this text widget I will print country name selected. Let's copy it from here, selected country, code, and first name, then followed by country name, followed by country code, and followed by population. Here it will go population count. You are getting this error because it is a null safety check we need to add. Here we got error because it will ask for null safety check addition. I have added the null check safety, and here you can see Nepal NEP and 6,000 because we have added this same record. Let's give some height between these two widgets, second drop down and third drop down, height of 15. Now you can see on the below we have Nepal NEP 60,000. Let's change the value to Pakistan, and you got the Pakistan value. It will work fine. Whatever value you change, it will work smoothly. So this is the way you can use drop down button widget with two type of values. One is list of string type and another is list of object type. Always try to use the list of object type because in real time applications you will always receive a list of object type. So that will give you an advantage of showcasing more information in near future. Thank you so much for watching this video till the end. If you like this content, then please share with your friends or the people who are trying to learn Flutter as a beginner. Thank you so much once again.